I'm Dick Cavett, and the man sitting here is many people's favorite guest of all the years I've done this sort of stuff. The author and scientist Isaac Asimov has written prolifically, to put it mildly, on history and science and mathematics, the Bible, Shakespeare, Gilbert and Sullivan, among other things. But he's primarily recognized as the, I think, the high priest or master of science fiction. And he's taken us into the circulatory system of a scientist via an infinitesimal submarine to civilizations of the future. In his latest novel, which I have a copy of here, Nemesis, we are put on a collision course with the spaceship Earth, and that won't spoil it for you because it's I'm told, gripping. This is a new and as yet unread copy. Today we will find out how it's humanly or superhumanly possible for one person to author more than 430 books in a single lifetime, and then you'll be able to do it too. Isaac Asimov, welcome.
How are you, Dick?
So we get rid of the dreary statistics. The first time I had you on, a person on my staff years ago had the clever idea of stacking all that you'd written beside you, and it almost reached man's height. The stack now would go how much higher, do you suppose?
Oh, dear me. I imagine it would go several stories high because this book here is my 431st to be published.
The Chronology of Science and Discovery, is that the title?
Yes.
Just a guess.
Yes, that's the title. It's about to be published, and I'm very proud of it.
Another dreary statistic, how fast do you type? How long would it take you in a typing test to simply copy this book, or how many words per minute do you type?
Oh, well, if you don't mind
this is the controversial
misstrikes,
stuff now.
If you don't mind misstrikes, I do 100 words a minute.
Not bad.
That thing's got 400,000 words in it. I would take 4,000 minutes. Mm-hmm. That would be something like 26, 27 hours of straight work without stopping to eat or sleep or anything. And then, of course, if I stopped to correct all the misstrikes, it would take twice as long.
Are you a morning writer?
I'm an all-day writer.
I figured. Well, a typical day for you is that you can be found in one place.
Well, a lucky day for me is when I can sit down at 7:30 and keep on going with minimal interruptions till about 10 p.m. Mm-hmm. That happens maybe once a month. Right. Usually I'm interrupted. And
with all your brains, you were 60 pounds overweight and ate a lot of ice cream?
A lot of everything.
Am I getting too personal?
Nah. In 1964, yes, in 1964 I weighed 210 pounds, and today I weigh 160. And I lost it all on my own, little by little, and never gained it back. And you're an avid skier, I hear. Only at home on a Nordic trek like this. I stay in one place. I don't travel. So I hear. The man who is in literary form gone farther than almost anyone, that is not only in the height of your stack of books, but into the galaxies, lives in a radius of about, what, the dimensions of your apartment, largely? Right, and I never leave Manhattan voluntarily. Now, here I am in Fort Lee, New Jersey. But that's because you asked me to. Must be quite an exciting voyage for you. All across the bridge of the Hudson River. Such a Marco Polo. And just one other thing I need to get out of the way, because it strikes me as one of those things they put in magazines that can't possibly be true. And you don't have to answer this if it's too personal. Your wife has a terrace garden, and it said incredibly, Asimov has never stepped out onto the terrace. Well, that's a slight exaggeration. Sometimes I step out just as long as it takes me to realize I'm out on the terrace with nothing under me. Then I step back in. How widely known is your extreme neurotic behavior in terms of height? Well, as widely as possible. I talk about it all the time. Can't look down, eh? No, I can't. Yesterday, I saw Safety Last with Harold Lloyd. I've been waiting for years to see it. That's one where he climbs up the side of the building, hangs from a clock. On the clock? Yes, also he's about to fall about 1,000,000 times. Did it without nets, without stuntmen. He really did it. Yeah. And it wasn't very many people in the theater, but I was the screamer. There are people who can't watch that and break into sweat. Oh, I break into screams. My wife is holding me. Shh, it's all right. He doesn't die. This is progress. But for some reason, I was looking forward to seeing that. I guess it's the sensation of feeling this terrible anxiety and fear and knowing deep in your heart you're safe in a movie seat.
Well, not to disillusion you, I read that it's true he did not have a net. He did do it over the street, as high as it looked, and he had, it said, a small platform, which would have been of little help if he fell. So it's nice to know.
Well, he never fell, thank goodness.
Have I introduced a fact to you didn't know before? It'd be quite a feeling.
Yes, that's true.
If nothing else, in the time I have you here, to me, the most, I don't know, goose pimple making, intriguing, sexiest, thrilling idea involved in all of what's generally called science fiction has always been time travel. The other day, a guy with a degree in science said it's theoretically possible, but if I tried to explain to you how it is in fact possible, you wouldn't understand.
Probably I wouldn't either. It's relatively easy to move forward in time. If you go at very nearly the speed of light, then time for you slows up until it's scarcely moving.
What the hell does that mean?
Well, that means that to someone else, to an observer, you seem to be like this. You're very slowly moving. It takes you about 20 years to move forward an inch, let us say. To you, you're living normally. But the rest of the world is moving a lot faster than you, so that if you go somewhere nearly the speed of light and then come back, you may find that 1,000,000 years has passed. You're maybe just a few months older, but 1,000,000 years has passed. But then you can't go back.
Your twin brother would have died years ago?
Yes, and all your descendants, and maybe humanity, you know.
You buy this idea?
Oh, yes, if you accept Einstein's relativity theory, which I do. That's what happens. Of course, the trick is to go that fast and come back.
Well, I asked a colleague of yours once, if you go around keep going around the Earth faster than the speed of, well, even in a supersonic jet where you in fact gain a day, do you get younger? And he said, well, theoretically, yeah, I guess you do.
Well, you don't age as rapidly as you would otherwise, but the amount of non-aging is so small you'll never notice. At the fastest speed that we can go in rocketing around the Earth, we would perhaps be 1/1,000,000th of a second younger than we would otherwise be if we had just stayed in one place.
So better to invest it in facelifts and face creams than...
I think so, or just stay home and read a good book.
And just one more. Whenever I hear it explained, I can retain it for about 20 minutes. The clock at the top of the Empire State Building runs a little faster than the same clock, the identical clock at the bottom of the Empire State Building, or do I have it backwards?
I think you have it backwards.
Okay. The fact that they're different, I suppose, is the point.
Wait a while. Maybe you don't have it backwards.
Aha!
Yes, you see, as the gravitational pull increases, time slows. That's why if you move towards a black hole, time goes slower and slower as viewed from outside, so that if you were to watch someone moving into a black hole, you'd never see him get there. He would go right through to the end as far as he himself was concerned, but you would never see him get there.
This isn't in any way connected with the tree in the forest. There's no one there to hear.
No, this is a different kind of paradox, just as hard to understand.
Actually, why would there be a forest if there's no one there?
Well, you don't forget, someone once wrote a limerick on that, and the answer was that God is always there.
Ah.
He's the universal observer. At least that's what the guy who wrote the limerick wanted to say. He may have even been sarcastic, who knows.
Yeah. By the way, not to pry into your personal finances, but if you got out more and had known who Steven Spielberg was and had written the script for Close Encounters of the Third Kind when it was offered, would you be rich as Croesus now as opposed to whatever comfort you now have?
Not at all. The script I would have written would have been turned down. I have no talent whatsoever for writing a movie script.
How can this be?
Easy. The requirements are different.
Writing character and...
well, you have to have the picture in your mind. Yeah. You can't just tell a story. You have to at all times know what's on the screen.
Visual medium.
And it's useless to ask me to do that. I never see anything that I write. I only hear it. Conversation is all that I'm aware of. That's why my books are so talky. One of the reviews of Nemesis says it's talky. What do they know? But it's
Right.
true. It's great to talk, but he wouldn't know that.
What you talk about is visualizable.
I suppose, but that's purely accident.
When we come back, there are just a few other things I need to know from you, like why they can't cure cancer, what you think will happen with AIDS, how the universe will probably end, and a few other lighthearted things. And then maybe there'll be time for some limericks. We'll be back right after this. Isaac Asimov, hard to know what to talk to you about because the possible menu is so rich. Do you have any thoughts on viruses, AIDS, and you have a degree in chemistry, do you not?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make me an expert on medicine, you know.
Okay, well, disavowing your expertise or whatever, any thoughts on what ought to be being done? Do you see anything encouraging? Do you think they're doing the right things? And what do you think the mystery of it is, if any?
Well, the trouble with the AIDS virus, apparently, is that it can hide in the cells for years and years and then come out. And it's difficult to get at it. It's apparently a very complex virus that you can't grab easily, but you have to keep trying, that's all. And they've been making progress. They've reached the point now, I understand, where if they catch it early enough, they can extend lifespans. They can't guarantee you won't die in the end, but you can live longer. And I suppose live in better shape. And, you know, who's going to turn that down?
Do you ever wish you'd focused your knowledge and interest on something like simply one branch of science like that, where you would make a major contribution like Dr. Salk? But he hasn't written 403 books.
Well, I don't know if I'd have the talent for that. I seem to have a grasshopper mind. And perhaps if I tried to really stay in one place and bore deeply, I'd either A, get bored, or B, prove that I lack the capacity for it. Who knows? I think I'm safer at doing what I've discovered I can do reasonably well, which is a little bit of everything.
Yeah. What's the last time you met somebody smarter than you are?
Well, I've met on a number of occasions people I considered smarter than me. The two I remember best were Carl Sagan and Marvin Minsky. Carl Sagan, of course, you all know. Marvin Minsky is at MIT's expert in artificial intelligence. And one time I was on a cruise, and so were Carl Sagan and Marvin Minsky, and Carl said to me, "How does it feel, Isaac, to be the third brightest person in the room?"
Not realizing that you had already ranked them in your mind?
Oh, no, they knew.
Oh, they knew.
Make no secrets.
Yeah.
Of course, I can't let that go. What I said was, third brightest maybe, but I haven't described who's the most talented.
Or you could have said, I don't know, ask him, and pointed to it. But they didn't make fun of you and play keep away with your books or anything, or stomp on your glasses, or they weren't mean about it. They treated you as an equal.
They're both of them awfully nice guys.
Oh, okay.
You don't think I'm going to consider a rat to be smarter than me? Never.
Well, now that you've told me that time travel is, in your mind, possible.
Going forward.
As a kid, did you have the bright ideas that we all think we have until we find out we're the 10,000th to think of them? For example, sitting in the tub once, I thought, hey, wait a minute. If the guy bouncing the basketball half a block away, it takes the sound a while to reach me, it takes the picture much faster, but still a moment. If I could get out there real fast into space, really fast, I could look back and see things that happened yesterday, or 10 years ago, or is Columbus sailing on the distant star, the lights hasn't come to us yet, out there they're looking into our, what, 12th century maybe?
Well, actually, if you move away at the speed of light, everything, all the ability to see is moving with you. The best you can do is to see yourself as you start off, if you're going away at the speed of light, because the vision has also moved at the speed of light.
But didn't somebody call into question the fact the speed of light assumption we've always made may not be the fastest thing in the world?
Well, it's possible to say what you have just said, but no one has ever demonstrated that.
Yeah.
Everything that we have actually tested would seem to make it seem that the speed of light is the fastest possible.
But that doesn't foreclose future discoveries in which it might be.
Well, you know, who knows what goes on under extreme conditions that we haven't really tested. in the depths of a black hole, for instance.
Yeah. Is there any way of predicting what the next great mammoth discovery might be without knowing what it is? You know what I mean? Is there a way of thinking about the future that you could predict something like a Newtonian revolution? Or
it takes a Newton to predict a Newtonian revolution. No, the real serious breakthroughs wouldn't be breakthroughs if it were possible to see them. Yeah. An interviewer once asked me if I thought that there were some strange forces in the universe that haven't yet been discovered. Mm-hmm. I said perhaps, but if so, they haven't yet been discovered.
Right, it's almost a question that asks itself. But there seem to be places in science where, for example, they'll know of a particle that by definition has to exist because of the way other things behave, but they haven't ever found it or proved it.
Well, they have certain laws of symmetry, certain conservation laws, which they feel must be observed. In order to observe it, there must be a particular particle to keep this other particle from breaking those conservation laws. So they presume that the other particle exists. Now, on a number of occasions in the recent history of physics, they have in this way predicted a particle and then later discovered it. The neutrino is the prime example. It was discovered 25 years after it was predicted as a necessary consequence of the conservation of energy, the conservation of momentum, and the conservation of particle-antiparticle.
So it was known and not known.
That's right.
Like if you had a teeter-totter that was balanced at one end, you know there's something at the other end, even though you can't see the other end.
Exactly.
Hey,
right now, they're sure that there are 6 different kinds of quarks.
Don't tell us what they are, because we have a break and we'll be back. Try and think of them. As a futurologist, is that the word?
Well, you might as well.
Till a better one comes.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. You were on six kinds of quarks.
I was going to say there's 6 kinds of quarks.
Kill me if I don't.
5 are known, and the 6th one has not yet been detected.
For those who don't recall right now what a quark is, you might fill us in on.
Quarks are the basic particles that make up protons and neutrons, which in turn make up atomic nuclei, which are essential to atoms, which are essential to us.
Yeah.
Well, there should be 6. We've detected 5. But we're sure of the 6th, even though it hasn't been detected, because if the 6th didn't exist, the conservation laws would fall down. And we can't allow that.
When you see a science fiction film, are you bothered or can it be ruined for you by the fact that they've made some big blunder in it that couldn't work?
It depends on how entertaining it is. If it's sufficiently entertaining and sufficiently ingenious, I forgive the blunders. Otherwise, I won't.
What was the one I read about where they had somebody who was microscopic? I mean, it might be slightly ruined for you because of the fact that you realized someone that small couldn't breathe because the atom would be...
Oh, well, it was in Fantastic Voyage, which I novelized.
Oh, right.
Yes, they made the motion picture, and then they asked me to take the script and make a novel out of it. Right. I was busy working on the novel until the time came they were running out of air, and so they stuck a tube into the lungs to grab in the air, and I realized they're grabbing in molecules which to them are as large as golf balls. How are they going to stuff it up their nose?
They'd have been trying to breathe golf ball size.
So I had to quick put in a device to miniaturize the air before they could breathe it. But in the movies, they didn't worry about such things. They ignored the whole question of the atomic nature of matter.
Nowhere in any theater in America did anybody stomp out of the movie saying, those people couldn't breathe, I want my money back.
Not once. If I had kept it that way in the book, nobody would have objected either, but I would have.
It's nice to know someone's looking out for our interests, though, even that carefully. We have another break now, improbable as that seems, but we'll be right back. Isaac Asimov, and did you get any heat, so to speak, from an effort you made one time to rationally explain a lot of the Bible miracles?
Oh, surprisingly little.
Didn't get a lot of tracts mailed to you?
Well, I got some, yes, and also some letters telling me they were praying for me, which is kind.
That's nice.
And occasionally, very occasionally, I'd get a letter calling me names. But then my usual answer was to tell them that I'm sure they thoroughly believed that when I died I was going to go to hell and suffer indescribable tortures for all of eternity. Yeah. And in that case, why should they bother calling me names in addition? I never got an answer.
Probably working on the answer. They just don't write as fast as you do. Which ones gave you the most trouble? Parting of the Red Sea, the burning bush?
Actually, what gives me the most trouble is every time I write something supporting evolution. That somehow sets off people.
Supporting evolution?
Yes. They want to write back and tell me that evolution is just a theory, or they send me little tracts which prove that human beings have only existed for a few thousand years, and so on.
Well, maybe somebody should clear up the use of the word theory, since gravity is a theory too, but nobody doubts it, does he?
Well, a theory is a collection, is a system of thought that explains a great many disparate observations and puts them all into a single structure. Otherwise, it's just a pile of observations.
Yeah.
You might say this: a pile of bricks are facts. An architectural blueprint that you follow to build a structure is a theory.
Somehow theory's gotten the meaning of guesswork attached to it.
Yes, I know. That's because it's improperly used. A hypothesis is a suggested possible theory which would require support. Once it receives sufficient support, it becomes a theory. And theory of evolution has incredible quantities of support in every branch of science, from biology, from chemistry, from geology, from everything. It is inconceivable, really, that evolution does not exist. The only arguments people have on the exact mechanism, the analogy is, nobody is going to argue that automobiles don't exist or that they don't drive when you take off the brake and step on the gas. As to what goes on under the hood, if you're not an expert, there are probably many theories. I myself don't know what goes on under the hood, but I know the car goes.
But the fact that species adapt and so on and change and
that you have a whole series of fossils which show, and the biochemistry of the genes also shows relationships, and we actually see evolution work before our eyes, and many changes that take place in animals, usually in animals that are short-lived and have many young, so that evolution speeds up. We find it in insects easily.
Remember Mort Saul's great joke? You look at the great leaders of this country, Washington, Franklin, Madison, Jefferson, and you look at what we have today, and what can we learn from this? A, Darwin was wrong. Maybe that'll give some comfort to your enemies on the evolution. Well, the time has certainly gone fast, as it does when you're around, pointing out that it's relative in some way. But you'll be here tomorrow.
Yes.
Wear the same clothes and everything, and we'll do another show then.
Okay, good. That's
so
what
it's not goodbye, Isaac Asimov. It's only you know what. See you then.